Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talks with Tina, where we are pursuing our most true and authentic self by what? Y'all heard that? Uncovering our roots. Y'all just gonna have to ignore that because, you heard right. It's a cough. It was. What you gonna do about it? I'm just kidding. I did this video 3 times, and every time I did it, I ended up coughing because I was genuinely laughing. Anywho, in the spirit of getting straight to the point, today's topic is intimacy or imagination. And just literally in the spirit of transparency, y'all, I haven't been here in a while, and I don't think I just made a Talk to Tina or just like journal. You know, I'm always talking out my thoughts, but I don't think I've been writing them down in a hot minute. But I really just say, like, this season in my life, and just as part of my healing journey as well, I am truly learning and encountering and honestly breaking down the moments in my friendships, relationships, or whatever, that I let the intimate moments fuel my imagination. And what I mean by that is that what I considered, like, it's so crazy how we can like shift our perspective on everything. And that's kind of been my whole life, is learning to shift my perspective. If something bad is happening, I shift my perspective to make it good, because you live in the reality that you tell yourself. And so if I don't want to be down in the dumps, I'm happy. And then eventually, it's not eventually, because I'm going to believe what I begin to say to myself. So that was just a sidebar of just shifting your perspective. If something's going bad in your life, shift your perspective. Find the good in what is happening, because when you soak in the bad, then you literally will begin to live and experience all the bad that you are saying is present. But if you shift your perspective and say, this may not be how I want it to go, but let me tell you something, this is what is present right now, and it's going to help me in the long run. It's not even that it's going to help you in the long run, because it is, but what are you facing right now that is literally going to propel you to the next? So, sidebar, hey, how you doing? Shift your perspective. How about it? So it's crazy, like I was saying, it's crazy how we can live the narrative that we tell ourselves. And so, and more specifically in the relationship, I took those intimate moments of, you know, crying or just having small moments. And don't get me wrong, like, there are plenty of times where things were fun and they were actually what they seemed. But then there are other times where I took the minuscule parts of what was, and then I made it to something completely different. And now that makes it sound crazy. But for instance, here's an example. So say there was a night that we just pillow talk and cupcake, and then that leads to a conversation of, you know, I ain't ready for all of this, boom, bang, pow, you ain't really the girl I want, yada, yada, yada. I'm crying, boohoo crying, this happened. I'm crying, boohoo crying, and then instead of me, like, holding tight to this individual saying, you ain't the girl I want, you know, I'm ready for a relationship, me, little old me, broken me, turned to, well, he saw me cry. He wiped my tears and told me everything was going to be okay. And you hold on into those things that feed the imagination of what could be and what you want it to be. But in the long run, you're ignoring the things that are present to you. So how do we make it make sense? How do we full circle and see life? I'm going to give you the definition of imagination because it, bless me. So imagination is the faculty or action of forming new ideas, images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. So how do we make it make sense? The second definition says the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful, the part of the mind that imagines things, right? So it all ties into you making it up in your head, right? That's your imagination. I'm going to imagine it. The things are not present, but I'm going to make this a reality in my head. So if y'all sit there and be honest with yourself, half of you, it sounds crazy, but half of y'all are crazy because you making what's your reality, your imagination, like, fuel what's in your imagination, and you really set yourself back a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, because I set myself back with, you cannot heal if you are constantly fueling your imagination. Period, point blank. Your narrative of what you want and what is contradicting to what is going to get you to a place of healing and what's going to get you to a place of truly understanding what's hurting you. You cannot live in a place of hurt and say that it makes you happy. You can't. And I felt glory on that. I I did, because here we are. My transparent. I was in a constant state of hurt, but I turned my hurt because I said, let me shift my perspective. It's not as bad as it seems. Let me shift my perspective, and I'm gonna be happy. I was happy with the hurt of my imagination. Well, I was happy with the hurt of my imagination. Girl, that was good. I was happy with the hurt of my imagination. Let that bless you. Catch it if you will. But I was truly happy with the hurt of my imagination. Like, I let my imagination hurt me. I could have been happy. I could have been truly happy, living in the true happiness of it all. And I really don't want to make it seem like this relationship was just like so terrible and all this other stuff. It was great. The person's a great human being. The relationship wasn't great. Let me scratch that. The person is a great human being, but it's life just happens. But I realized, and even with my friendships too, like I realized a lot of my friendships were very one-sided, and I allowed my imagination of, well, you know, homegirls, we go out, we do. But at the end of the day, I had nobody to call on. I cannot really at this time and place now tell you what half of these people loved about life, what they enjoyed, and so on and so forth, because it was very superficial. And that's part my fault, part their fault too, because they were not authentic. These friendships were not authentic. These relationships were not authentic. So you cannot begin to learn on the basis of what is not authentic, because none of it is real. It is just your imagination of the intimate moments you have with these people. Ah, glory on that. Y'all, that's why I say, becoming our most true and authentic self to uncover our roots, because if you uncover your roots, you can be your most true and authentic self. If you're not your most true and authentic self, you cannot present yourself to the real person, and the real person can't be who you think they are, because they are not showing their most true and authentic self. So anything that is beyond that is just your imagination of who you want that person to be, and you cannot make that person be who you want them to be. They are going to be who they are, and if they are not living to the full self of who they are, then you don't know who they are. So therefore, it is just your imagination. It's just your imagination, guys. Oh, this is good to me, y'all. And imagine it like, no, it's as bad as it seems. It's your imagination. We want people to be who we create them to be, and we cannot go off of a false narrative of who somebody is and expect them to be who we picture them up to be. It doesn't work like that. Relationships won't work like that. You won't work like that. If you continue to be somebody you're making up in your mind, you cannot be that. You cannot be who, unless you are truly pursuing who you are destined to be. If you are going after what is new, what is true and natural to you, it is all made up in your mind. I can sit up here. I mean, then it can go into argument of like, well, I'm just trying to, speak what I want to be. Do that, but let that be your reality as well. If you want to be this, whoever you want to be, let that be your reality as well. Let that be authentic to who you are, and not because of what you think others will perceive you to be. Y'all are, stop it. And I gotta tell myself that too, because y'all, this is really all just in our head. If you really just think about this stuff, this is all just in our head. And if you stop being in your head for a little bit and tune into what is present to you in that moment, you will realize and kind of save yourself a little bit from what is not your reality. Do not let these intimate moments that fuel your imagination trick you into something that will shift you for a long time. I let my imagination shift me for a long time and shift me into friendships and all these other things. We learn from it. It's been good. I'm learning a lot, actually. And y'all see why I just got so hyped, because when you stop creating what you want in your mind and avoid what's present, you'll begin to see that some of this stuff ain't it's not what it's cracked up to be. And it's gonna hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it's hurt. Like, y'all see how hype I got about it, because I'm still realizing these things, is that some things still aren't what I imagine them to be, but it's what I'm hoping for. But I'm taking these small intimate moments. Well, they called me the other day. They love me. But then the moment you pick up the phone and call them, like, they're not present. Or just the many things that I feel like I'm going above and beyond are literally nothing, because my reality is, at the end of the day, it's not It's not adding up to what's present. What's present is these folks ain't checking on me. What's present is that these people I cannot call on. And it sounds really self-centered and selfish, but at the end of the day, if it's not serving anything, then that's your reality, that this friendship and this relationship is not serving anything. Not just serving you, it's not serving anything. And if it's not serving anything, it's serving your imagination of what you want it to be, of what it could be, instead of what it is. So here's my, how do we full circle this and how do we make sense to your life? Get out of your head for a second and look at your reality. Do not allow those small, minuscule, intimate moments feed and fuel what you want, because what is present is what is exactly what it's telling you. Your present time and what you're dealing with is exactly what it's gonna be from here on out. It's not gonna change, because if neither parties, or just you speaking out for yourself, if you are not living authentically, if you're not living in your fullness of who you are, all of this, it's made up. It's made up. It's made up. Begin to live your most true and authentic self and your most true and authentic life, and your reality will begin to shape and mold in that way, so that your imagination won't have to pinpoint which way I can make it happen. And that's the chat, folks. Bye. Talk to y'all later. Bye.